What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast. I'm Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Christine Steimer.
Hello.
And special guest Blair Herter is here.
Also, hello.
Thanks so much for coming by the studio. So good to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you, too.
So, of course, I got to run into you this morning at Kinda Funny, where you did the morning show with Nick Scarpino.
Yep. Yeah, you walked in with your blazer and immediately made it 1,000 times more professional. Like, literally.
Andrea usually does that.
The professionalism in that room just shot up, man.
Yeah, those guys, when Greg's away, they really kind of like take it easy.
Yeah, which is saying a lot if Greg is the most professional person in that room.
He's definitely not. And Tim is probably the most professional person in that crew. Tim and Joey for a close second.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I would have said Joey, but yeah, I guess Tim as well.
I'm thinking about like office attire though. Joey usually rolls in like super casual, but like why not? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
she's amazing, by the way. Like, I want to. I've known the guys for a long time, so I feel like I've had enough time with them. But I was like, all I want to do right now, Joey, is get to know you better. Like, you're so great.
I know.
She's a wonderful human.
Yeah, she's lovely.
Yeah, she's been on the show a couple of times, and I'm really glad that she lives in San Francisco now because it means that we get to. You know,
I'm so angry about it.
Oh,
because she left me. Like, we were friends down here, and then she's like, I'm going to San Francisco. Bye. And I was like, no.
Don't leave.
I'll tell you, though, I'll put money on the fact those guys, they'll move that company down to LA in a couple years.
I've been talking to them. I've planted the seed. Yeah. They're pretty ingrained in the Bay right now, but I've been working on Tim and Greg to be like, listen, you guys could save so much money. There's so many other content creators you could do content with. Yep. Also, it's just warmer.
Yep.
I'm just going to do
Oh, it's fine. I feel better now.
Slight mic adjustment.
As you guys are probably aware, our third amigo, Miss Brittany Brombacher, is on a vacation. She is somewhere in the Mediterranean having a lovely time on a cruise. We don't know where she is. I messaged her earlier and was like, where are you? So we can tell people. And she never responded. Yeah. I think the Wi-Fi is pretty spotty. I mean, Wi-Fi on cruises is super expensive.
Yeah. And also, I think shitty for a reason because people, they want you to unplug. Like, I love going on cruises because it's an excuse to truly, you know, we all go on vacation, but do we really, really go on vacation? But when you're on a cruise, you're like, okay,
I'm in the middle of the water.
Yeah, and that's the best. So.
Yeah, that's why I love cruises. I'm trying to convince John to go on a cruise with me, and he's just not about it. He's just there's something about cruises I think that he's just not a fan of. Maybe it's the food because he's such a big foodie.
Yeah.
That the food on cruises can sometimes be very good, but most of the time it's just good, but it's not like excellent.
Yeah.
Well, sure, you're not getting like 3-star Michelin food on a cruise. Yeah. But it's pretty solid. And you can eat all the time. You can eat pizza at like 3 a.m.
eating. Yeah, which is kind of the best. And follow that up with ice cream and chicken wings and cereal.
That's what I'm trying to tell him.
Yeah. We went on last year. We went on a Disney cruise, which is
I've heard they have the best food of all the cruises.
That's the thing. Is like, first of all, service next level. And I've been on a lot of different cruises, but service on this next level Disney service. The kid had a blast for obvious reasons, but the dinners every night they cycle you through the like 3-4 restaurants they have on the boat. And the 4 restaurants are like, they're not Michelin starred restaurants, but they're really good restaurants. So you kind of do the buffet thing, breakfast and lunch.
Right.
But the dinners are legit dinners. So look into the Disney cruise.
I will.
Dude, Disney anything is like pretty legit.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I'm looking forward to revisiting Disney resorts because I haven't stayed or been to a Disney resort or property since I was like in middle school, where I stayed at Disney World with my mom. But I've been really wanting to either go back to Disney because I know they have kind of revamped some of their properties down there since then, which was like years ago. But I also have my eye on Aulani in Hawaii, which looks like an amazing property.
Yeah, all their stuff there is amazing. I kind of wish though, because I, as a selfish adult with no children, I'm like, I just want like a weekend where there are no kids, like where it's an adults only.
Yeah. Have you been to one of those,
at these Disney either resorts or the cruises?
Yeah. Have you ever been to an adults only resort?
No.
Okay, so we also went right after Emerson was born, about 6 months after Emerson was born. We're like, okay, we're still married, right? Okay, we need to get the fuck away from this newborn. By the way, can I just say real quick?
Yes.
I have a 5.5-year-old. Jessica is the best thing that's ever happened to me. He's the best thing I've ever made. That's how I qualify those things. He is so much fun. Every day is a blast with a 5.5-year-old. Newborns are the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Newborns suck. We hated having a newborn. We hated every minute of every single day was so lame. Newborns are the worst. But then they turn into something really amazing.
They turn into people, little people.
So stick it out, people with newborns. It gets better. But Jess and I, about 6 months after Emerson was born, we're like, we got to go do an us thing. So her parents came out and stayed with him. She and I went to an adults-only resort in Mexico, and it was 4 days of nothing but adults and open bars, and it was magnificent. So
That
if you
sounds
have
awesome.
the food was incredible. I'm pointing at a TV and a human. The food was incredible, and yeah, like it's just kind of cool to be around people that are not children. So I'm with you. You should try it. It's actually pretty fun.
I'm gonna make a mental note of this to tell John after we have children. Be like, so you should talk to Blair, and we should make this happen.
Yeah.
Get the parents to come on out.
I got all the advice for you. It's we were the first. Jess and I were the first of our friends to have a kid, so we didn't have any advice. And everybody that we talked to was like very afraid to tell us how much newborns are garbage. So we had very different expectations coming into this thing. But now we're like, we feel like we can tell people like, do you know the folks from Critical Role, like Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Steimer's good friends with them.
Okay, so Travis came to my house about 3 weeks before their kid was born. And he was like, I just need to talk to you about fatherhood. And I was like, sit down, bro, because I'm going to tell you some shit that nobody else is telling you. I promise. And
a real talkie right
we went
now.
through this thing, and we actually had lunch with, I've talked to them a lot since then. They've been helping so much on this Pablove thing that I'm doing. But we had lunch with Laura, Travis, and their kid on Sunday of this week. And they were both like, dude, thank you so much for being honest with us, because Jess had a similar conversation with Laura. And it's true, man. Like, everybody tells you it's the best. It is not. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the best for some people, but it wasn't for us. And so they had a very similar experience. And so I think their kid's only 10 weeks old, but they're like, in a couple months, they're going to try to do the same thing. Like, let's get away. Let's get the mom or dad or somebody to come and hang out, and we'll go do a thing. Because that's the key, right? Is like, wow, this turned into a full-on parenting fucking lesson.
We have a lot of parents that listen to the show,
good.
though.
Well, I think that
do.
they would probably agree that the easiest thing to forget when you have a kid is that you were married first. And so it's very important to remember and always focus on the fact that you're also a married couple. And I think people that are like, oh, children change everything. Children don't actually change anything if you don't forget that you aren't just parents.
Right.
You know? And so, anyway, let's move on to video games if you
Yeah,
want. That was
video
weird and
games.
unsolicited. I apologize.
The longest intro of intros. No, but this is what's great to have you on the show. For people who maybe never saw the multitude of projects that you hosted while you were on camera, what were some of like the favorite things that you hosted back in the days where you were holding a microphone?
It's a really great question. I mean, a very long time ago, I worked at MTV. I'm 38, so I started MTV when I was 20. So this will probably be, I think, about 18 years ago, maybe 17 years ago. We were really big in the Rock the Vote scenario, and so I did a number of interviews with Bill Clinton and Al Gore, and the presidential stuff was really neat. The political stuff I did. I got to produce the very first games giveaway on TRL, which was a big moment in my career.
Oh my God,
lived
TRL.
Yeah, and like, you know, you guys are producers, so like it was only a 3-minute package, like,
Right.
but for me, I was like 23, and it was like, oh shit, and nobody was doing video games on MTV, so that was really cool. That was kind of like I think like a trailblazing moment. And then everything at G4 was just magic, man. I mean, like X-Play was incredible. I hosted the first season of American Ninja Warrior, which was great. G4, I feel very fortunate. MTV, I worked at MTV when MTV was still music. And I worked at G4 when people weren't doing video games on television or any of that. Like, none of this happened. And so I was at some places with some really magical people who you guys all know. And yeah, I don't know. I remember it's hard to point a couple like specific things because it was all like they're all really good memories, you know?
Well, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, it's been really cool seeing how many people that worked at G4 have still maintained a presence in the video games industry.
Yeah.
I've gone on to work with a variety of different companies. G4 for me was like always the one that got away because in my entire hosting career, it was always like the dream to get even like a correspondent position, something small on G4, and I just never made it before they shut it down. And it still bums me out to this day that I never got to be on G4.
Well, you're younger than Jess and I though.
Yes,
we're older, so it wasn't so much it got away. You were just too young at the time, you know. The old folks were.
I don't know.
They
had some pretty young people.
Yeah, there were a couple people that were only there for a very short time. I remember. But yeah, no, it was. I look back on it now because Facebook will serve up memories, and I'm like, how are we able to do that on television? Like, really and truly, like some of the stuff we were doing was just like, wow. And that's now I feel like a lot of what we're seeing now, content and things like that. It's funny to me because I felt like I mainly was a host. I didn't produce. I got hired as a producer, and I produced for 6 months, and then once they put me on camera, that took me in a very different direction. But I worked with some of the most incredibly creative producers, and some of the content they were doing now, I see stuff like that now, and I'm like, dude, I remember when we did that shit like 10 years ago, you know? And it's really neat to see whether people want to admit it or not. I think that a lot of what was happening on G4 has influenced a lot of this type of content.
I'd say without a doubt that influence is clear.
Yeah, and it was cool to be a part of that, you know? Like, I will always be grateful. Like, a lot of people like to speak ill of places they worked in the past, and no job is perfect, but like I will forever be grateful for the time that I had there, for sure.
Well, we certainly miss it. There's always these rumors popping up every now and again of G4 resurfacing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever going to truly happen.
You know,
with how big streaming is. But
I don't know if G4 as a brand will ever come back, but I can tell you that part of my job at IGN is the originals development department, which means that I often meet with a lot of television networks and conglomerates that are getting into the OTT space.
That's the over the top, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, the digital space. And I can tell you that a lot of them are going to be launching their own services, and they're all very interested in gaming. So I do think
yes, they are.
That's something like it'll never be G4. But I think things like that may come back in a certain capacity.
We've had conversations with some of these people who have been working on some of these networks trying to revive something that's G4-esque. And it just doesn't seem like anyone has quite hit the secret sauce. And I think a lot of that has to do, and I don't want to get too in the industry weeds. I just think a lot of that has to do with people wanting the quality of something like a Spike TV's GTTV or like a G4's XPlay, but they don't want to actually put the budget in it. They're like, oh, it's streamers and YouTubers. We can get them for super cheap. And I'm like, good video is not cheap, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Yeah. And the budgets weren't like, I mean, we didn't have the biggest budgets on G4, but, you know, they were certainly more than the branded content budgets at IGN are brand fueled, so they're very different budgets. But the originals, and I mean, you guys, you know, you've worked in IGN with content, like you know what those budgets look like, and so they're very similar. But yeah, Disney XD last year did an experiment. IGN had a show, a half-hour nightly, and they weren't TV budgets, but they were pretty good, and it did well. Like, and they brought back Parker Plays and things like that. So. Look, enough brands want to be a part of it now, and as you guys know, like brand dollars drive everything. And so if brands are saying they want to be in gaming, then it incentivizes all of these people to make moves, right? So I don't know. Like I say, let G4 be G4. Like let it be what it is. Let
the legacy live on.
Yeah, don't try to recreate it. Let's do something new. You know, and by let's, I mean, don't let me do it. I'm 38 now. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know the guy. But
I don't know what the kids want.
Yeah, I don't know what the kids are looking at, their snaps and their whatevers, their tweets. But like, I do think that, you know, let somebody create their own version of that, you know? And I'm excited to see what that is.
Well, listen, I'll take your money. People out there, if you have an OTT that has budget, come find me at contact@whatsgoodgames.com. why don't we go ahead and get to some news now that we've had this lovely chat at the top of the show? Thankfully, it's a relatively light news week. Unfortunately, as per usual, there's going to be a Nintendo Direct on Thursday, and we're recording this on Wednesday night. So if there's some earth-shattering news, we might be able to record something and get it in. But considering I'm leaving for Tokyo on Friday morning, probably won't happen. So we'll have to catch you guys up on that next week. Or, of course, you can check it out on friend of the show, Kinda Funny Games Daily, which will be every weekday, Monday through Friday. So, the first piece of news that I've got for you guys, Nintendo Switch Online launch date has been revealed. So this write-up comes from IGN, and it's from Adam Bankhurst, who writes, Nintendo has revealed that its upcoming online service will be launching next Tuesday, September 18th, and will be arriving with a 7-day free trial from the Nintendo eShop. They announced it via Twitter, and Nintendo confirmed that more information will be revealed at tomorrow's 35-minute Nintendo Direct that will focus on upcoming Switch and 3DS titles. Nintendo previously said that the online service would be launching in the second half of September, which technically, I guess it would be true, and it would cost significantly cheaper than Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus. There are 3 purchase options here in the United States. 1 month will cost you $3.99, 3 months $7.99, and 12 months $19.99. In addition, the ability to play online games with friends, which had previously been free. Subscribers will gain access to 20 NES games at launch, including Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Super Mario Bros. 3. Another long-requested feature, cloud saves, will become available with this new service, although it appears not all games will be taking advantage of this feature. So we knew this was coming. It is certainly long overdue. $20 seems like a very reasonable price to get in for a year. Kind of like if you're gonna experiment with this, you might as well just buy the full year.
Yeah.
But does this blow your skirt up? Are you excited about this, Blair?
First of all, 2 things. One, thank you for featuring a Nintendo-based IGN story in a positive light. We appreciate that. Secondly, I am wearing a skirt under this. How did you know? Yeah, man, I think games as a service means many things to many different people, but on the whole, I appreciate games as a service, and I think this falls into that category for me, so I'm all in. Like, I will pay you if you give me something that I may not use every day, but something that is available to me. I just want it to be available. And now that's available, I think it's good. And this is certainly something that people have been asking Nintendo for in some capacity since the dawn of time. So it's nice to see this is happening, right?
They're finally getting an online infrastructure in place?
Yeah, like I'm excited about it.
Steimer?
I mean, no, but
okay.
I'm excited for other people. Because, like, for the Switch, it's not something that I play online games on. Like, I treat my Switch as a giant Game Boy. That is very much my single-player travel experience. So, for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But, you know, also, I would say at this point, my Xbox Live Gold subscription also doesn't make a lot of sense for me. I haven't played an online game in quite some time on that platform.
Yeah.
So I would just I'm not going to sign up for this because I feel like I would end up just having a recurring payment that I don't ever use. But if you are excited and you use your Switch all the time,
you know,
enjoy.
There's something to be said for that. I was talking about this with Gary Whitta earlier this week, and I'd kind of said, you know, it's a departure for Nintendo because they really have been known throughout their entire lifetime as like the single player machine. Mm-hmm. They just started getting into multiplayer really with the Wii. Well, online multiplayer. Obviously, plenty of their games have had local multiplayer options for quite some time, but I don't play online multiplayer games on my Switch. I didn't play them on my Wii U.
Yep.
It's just not something that I do. Not to say that I haven't had fun playing online Mario Kart or trying out Splatoon 2 and things like that, but it's just not what I play on my Switch. I'm like you. I play my Switch on airplanes.
Yeah. I mean, I do that a lot. I fly every week, and I think what I'm telling myself is that I'm investing in the future of Nintendo's online infrastructure, right? Like, it's like when Elon Musk like opened up pre-orders for the Teslas. It's like, you ain't even built them shits yet, bro. But people just funded the production of those things, and now they're going to be cool. And so I just always hold out this hope that Nintendo's looking out for my best interests, even though most of the time they're probably not. And their $20 a year or whatever will hopefully like build an online infrastructure that makes sense. Like the cloud save alone, right, is just like, how many memory cards have you guys lost in your home?
0.
Because she doesn't have one.
See, I got agita. I need to have like 100 games on available to me at all times.
I'm with you. The internal memory is just not enough. Yeah, it's bad.
I'm very good at purging.
Yeah, no.
See, what I
learned is you're fiscally responsible. You're just a better person than me all around. You're fiscally responsible. You're better with your data management.
We had somebody write into Dear WGG. James says, "What's good, ladies? Hope you're doing well. On the eve of Thursday's Nintendo Direct, the black and white Super Smash Bros. Pro controller had its release date pushed up from mid-December to September 28th. I know this episode will go up on Friday after the Direct has taken place, and the answer may be there, but does this lead you to any crazy theories or predictions as to why the controller is coming out earlier than expected, since it was supposed to release alongside Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?"
No strong opinion for me either way.
I mean, this is kind of unorthodox to take a launch that was supposed to be in mid-December and moving it 3 months up. That's really weird.
Real weird.
I don't know if I have any crazy theories or predictions. I don't think that they're just going to magically drop Smash in late September. Yeah. I think they're going to want to polish that game as long as they can, because balance in that game is so crucial. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe they'll bring like a former Smash Bros. And port it to the Switch as like a get excited for Ultimate.
Yeah. Or here's an interesting question for you guys. What if they're moving this peripheral out of the holiday season because they're launching something else in the holiday season and they need to make room for it?
That might be something worth discussing. I know that they have a new version of the Switch for Pokemon Let's Go that's happening in November.
Yeah, with the yellow.
Yeah, the yellow one. But for Smash, well, what are you suggesting?
I don't know. I mean, they're Nintendo, right? So like, what do we ever know?
They always got tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's just something. When I think about like supply chain, oh God, I'm gonna sound so old right now. When I think about like supply chain and like retail and distribution deals and things like that, and it's like if you're taking something off a shelf now, what are you putting on the shelf then?
That's a good point.
Right? So I don't know. I don't have any actual thoughts on that, but it's just, I don't know, something's got to be in retailers at that point, right? What is it going to be?
I guess only time will tell.
Yeah.
James, sorry we didn't have any crazy wild theories for you.
Yeah, it probably will be something as lame as just like another colorway, but like whatever. It's fun to speculate.
All right, next story. EA reportedly under criminal investigation in Belgium due to FIFA's loot boxes. So this write-up comes from Eurogamer, and this has, of course, been covered by most people. We've been hearing about, this issue with Belgium making loot boxes illegal, but now there's a new development. The Belgian government, which declared loot boxes to be a form of gambling earlier this year, has reportedly launched a criminal investigation into EA after the publisher refused to modify FIFA's randomized card pack loot boxes in order to comply with the country's gambling laws. Back in April, Belgium's Gaming Commission determined that loot boxes found in FIFA 18, Overwatch, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive were an illegal game of chance and thus subject to Belgian gambling laws. Failure to adhere to these laws, which include ensuring that minors are unable to access the gambling elements within a game, is illegal. Following the ruling, Blizzard, Valve, and 2K Games all elected to disable loot boxes in their games in Belgium. EA, however, has done nothing. As a result, according to the Belgian publication Metro via Google Translate, they're now the subject of a criminal investigation by the Brussels Public Prosecutor's Office. If it decides to prosecute, the case will go to court. The Belgian government's gaming commission considers loot boxes to be a game of chance because players don't know exactly which items a box may contain when purchasing it. EA, however, says otherwise, stating back in April that its games were developed and implemented ethically and lawfully around the world, and that it did not agree that games could be considered any form of gambling. EA CEO Andrew Wilson back in May said, players always received a specified number of items in each pack, and because it doesn't provide or authorize any way to cash out or sell items or virtual currency for real money. So I love that this loot box saga just continues and will not die.
Well, I like that EA's like, nah, we're not gonna do anything.
We're just no. Yeah, they made their bet here.
We're not gonna comply with your country's laws right now.
Because they could easily just have turned it off the way the other companies did. Because I doubt that they're making hand over fist in Belgium like with FIFA.
Right.
But I think maybe what they're kind of trying to do is prevent it from happening in other countries, because I think if more EU countries did follow suit, then that's when they're in trouble because FIFA makes a ton of money off those card packs. And
over $500 million specifically for FIFA
Oof.
in Ultimate Team microtransactions.
Yeah.
Just to like let you know how much money is on the line for EA.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, like that's a lot of European countries. So I think they're digging their pole into the sand because of that. And they're like, no, none shall pass. Like, this is not how this works. And I'm curious to see how it'll go.
Yeah, I don't know how Belgium's government is structured, that if they appeal or if they, protest, like where it goes, like if they have a Supreme Court system like the United States does, where they say basically like, no, like you can't tell us this is illegal, we're going to fight you, and how that process will go. But, like Steimer was saying, like this clearly is down to the money, and it's worth it financially for them to fight it, obviously.
Yeah. Also, can we agree that the Brussels police force is probably very well dressed?
Oh, yeah.
I just have this vision of them being very well kept and really together.
Just waffle in one hand and a beer in the other.
Yeah. But I do agree. I agree with both of you in that, like, it's about the money and probably the precedent, right? Because this is, we live in a world, games as a service, microtransaction, things like that, where the things like gambling and randomized luck and things like those come to play in like every game. I mean, what's to say at some point that a country doesn't say, randomized loot drops in Destiny are illegal because you don't really know. It's just like a weird, it's weird, right? It's a super gray area. So it'll be really interesting to see. I just hate that, like, we're not talking about violence here, right? And so I just hate that, like, countries feel the need to like stick their nose and like video games. Like, video games aren't bad. There are bad things about video games, but there are bad things about everything. But it's like, man, just leave. Like, it's not like you're trying to ban, Terrorist Simulator 2018. Like, it's just.
Yeah, and I think that, Gary and I got into this because he, of course, takes the stance that he thinks loot boxes are cancer. And while I don't think loot boxes are the best thing since sliced bread by any means, I also don't think that they're as terrible as people are making them out to be. And clearly, if they were so awful and people hated them so much, nobody would buy them. But we keep buying them. Like, I keep buying Silver and Destiny and going to see Tess at Eververse because I enjoy doing it, and I'm an adult that makes my own decisions. And I know that a lot of this comes back to children and their ability to access loot boxes and how it could instill a gambling addiction to kids at a young age. And I understand that there's a whole argument to be made there, but the kind of stance that I took on this was, hey, like, don't tell adults how to behave. Like, it's about personal responsibility. And when it comes to minors, like, that really kind of then falls on the parent. If a child goes and steals something from a convenience store, that child doesn't go to jail. The parent is the one who gets in trouble. Yep. So if you really want there to be,
the kid would go to juvenile delinquency, wouldn't it? Like, the kid.
It depends on how old they are, though.
That's true.
And so, like, I don't want to get too far in the weeds with my example, but like my point is, let me try to be succinct here, is that, if people are worried about children, there are plenty of restrictions within each of the different consoles to restrict access to microtransactions within these financial ecosystems. And if we need to make those more robust, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think the platform makers have been doing that. Yeah. And the idea that the burden should be on publishers to, take these loot boxes out of their game or microtransactions out of their game. It's just like, I'm just of the mindset that, like, the right or wrongness of the loot box to me is ancillary. The idea that the government is stepping in and trying to tell the video games industry how to police themselves is the part that I have the problem with.
And to underline your point, because I can take this stance in a very indignant way, just be better parents. Real talk. Like, Jessica and I are in the industry. We have a very firm stance on gun control and gun laws and all of those things. And video games have guns. And we recognize that. And so we've just decided to be good parents and let our child know that this is a video game or whatever. And so to your point, like, just be better parents. I don't know. Like, it's a hard, like, I hear people argue it all the time, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I hate to say this, but it sounds like you're just not being a good parent right now.
See, you can say that. I don't have
100%,
kids, so I can't get away with that.
But absolutely, like, Emerson plays Roblox all the time, and it's so easy to spend $1 million in Roblox. unless, as a parent, I just go in there and take an extra 10 minutes of my day to make sure that there is no way for him to spend any real money.
See, this is my point.
You know,
kids only have the money that you give to them.
Yeah, and it
or
really
with
is
credit cards
easy.
they steal out of your wallet.
Yeah. That is, he's not quite. He doesn't have the
not there
dexterity
yet.
yet for that. But like, yeah, I mean, publishers, to your point, they do provide the safety and security. You just do have to take that extra step as a parent or a guardian or somebody responsible in the household to like turn that stuff off.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
can
not just.
see where. Sorry, I was going to let you finish your thought.
No, it's fine. I think I was finished.
Okay. I mean, I can see like why government officials / politicians feel like they might need to come step in, only because I don't know of any other industry that is as self-regulating as the gaming industry. Like, so the story of loot boxes, taking a journey, a lot of it, not obviously the very beginning of it, but FIFA was a lot of why EA started to put that in other games, because they're like, holy shit, we're making hand over fist with FIFA and these fucking cards. Put them in everything. Why would you not put them in everything? They got overzealous, right? They got really carried away with it. It started doing like really icky things with it. Then the community backlash of it is what brought it back to a hopefully normal place. But I do see like why other people wouldn't understand that that's a thing that would happen. Like, what do you mean you would listen to the people who are purchasing your products? Why would you ever listen to them? That's not a thing we do. No, the government must tell us what to do.
Right.
I'm with
So, like,
you.
I kind of get it, but it's just we are such a weird, unique little industry. Well, we're not little, but we are perceived that way for some reason.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, we will definitely keep an eye on this and see what EA in Belgium get up to. I smell a settlement out of court. For an undisclosed sum of money to the Belgian government.
That's pretty accurate.
They're like, can we just pay this? How much money do we need to throw at you to make this go away?
We just want you to shut up about this.
Yes. And that will
Whose campaign do we need to donate to?
Right.
Oh, politics. All right. Our last story in the news segment is all about Alan Wake. So this is an exclusive story from Variety. Peter Calloway to adapt Alan Wake for television. An Alan Wake live-action television series is in development with Peter Calloway, who is known from Cloak and Dagger and Legion, and signed on as a showrunner and a writer, along with game creator Sam Lake as executive producer and Contraindication Films and Remedy Entertainment. Contradiction partner Thomas Harlan said the plan is to start shopping the show around in October with Calloway's full pitch. He said he's already seen initial interest from a number of studios. Alan Wake was basically a TV series that was put into a game, Harlan told Variety. That was Sam's vision. It was influenced by The Twilight Zone, Secret Window, Hitchcock, Northern Exposure, a lot of U.S. television, he said. We plan to work closely with Sam on our show. Sam is a huge part of this. This is his baby. Alan Wake was, of course, released on the Xbox 360 and PC back in 2010, followed the fictitious best-selling author Alan Wake on a journey to a small town in Washington where he hopes to rid himself of prolonged writer's block. What follows is an increasingly surreal experience that seems to bring the plot from his last novel, which he has no memory of writing, to life. The article actually goes into quite a bit of depth about what Sam Lake is doing with Contraindication Films and their plans for the series. And what I thought was really interesting, let me jump into a little bit farther down the article here. Lake told Variety that while Wake is very much the heart of this story, there are vitally important characters around him as well. The story of the original game is our starting point, the seed which will grow into the bigger story we're exploring with this show. We'll be expanding the lore of this crazy and dark universe and diving deeper into certain aspects of it than the game ever did. That includes tapping into some of the story planned for that unreleased second game. So, of course, Alan Wake 2 has been rumored for years now.
They should be called Alan Wakes Up.
Oh, Steimer, but then that would destroy the illusion.
I know. I just thought it was stupid and I wanted to say it.
As a dad, I can tell you I approve of that joke.
Yeah.
So that means you're doing dad jokes,
Yeah,
Steimer.
yeah, that is a good dad joke.
So I actually never really got into Alan Wake.
Okay.
Did you enjoy your time with it?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen King's my favorite author of all time. My son's middle name is Roland, named after the protagonist in the Gunslinger series. Like, I love Stephen King, and Sam Lake has said more than once that Alan Wake was inspired by many things, as you said there, including the works of Stephen King. I mean, that the story of Alan Wake as a game is very Stephen King-y, and a writer goes to a weird place because some fucked up shit happened in his novel. What's happening? That's a very Stephen King thing. So yeah, I love it. Give me more of that world. Give me more of that inspiration. My hope is that at some point, Uncle Stevie, which is what Stephen King refers to himself as, will get involved in some capacity. So I'm all in. Give me more of that. As a game, it was okay.
Yeah.
But as a story and a premise, I'm very much on board with it. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it feels like this was ready-made for TV, especially since it seems like spooky, thriller, horror, all of these genres are having a resurgence lately, particularly in the digital space, you know, Hulu's and Netflix and things like that. And I did not see this coming at all, but now that it's been announced, I could be on board for this.
Yeah, it was a cult. Like, it wasn't critically it did okay. It certainly didn't do massive sales numbers, but like, it has developed a cult following, right? Like, if you're an Alan Wake fan, like, to go back to G4 for a second, Adam Sessler, who I worked with at G4, I know that he loved Alan Wakes, and so I think that like the people that really love that game, like, really love that game, and so there's an audience. Obviously, they wouldn't be making it if there wasn't.
I wanted to like that game, but it just freaked me out too much. So it was one of those things where, like, the flashlight, your fucking batteries are always going out. I'm like, nope. Like, I noped out after a few hours because I was like, this is high stress.
Yeah, I don't like stressful video games, but I enjoy watching horror films and TV series because when it gets stressful, I can like plug my ears or close my eyes and then the scary part's over and then I can enjoy the rest of the story. But in video games, you have to drive it. Yeah. And I know that's what Britt loves, but I don't want.
But like, how many other people do you know that scream with their eyes open? Like, not very many. But Brittany's like, I see you.
So Blair, we did a Facebook watch series last fall called Lights Off, where we
I saw it.
Yeah, so we recorded ourselves in the dark with an infrared camera. Yeah. And what we discovered through sorting through many hours of footage was that Brittany like screams like wide-eyed open, whereas Steimer and I are like, we clench and like close our eyes, like, which I would think is the natural
normally
reaction.
You scream because you're scared of something and you're closing your eyes because you don't want to see that something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But Brittany wants to get closer to it.
But Brittany, she like leans in and her eyes are like wide open. It's fascinating.
It's like she doesn't want to miss the horror.
Yeah. What did she think about that when she saw herself doing that? What was that? What was that like?
I think she didn't think twice about it.
Okay.
No, she's like, yeah, what do you mean? Isn't
that, duh, doesn't everybody
that's
do
normal?
Yeah, you're like, no, you're actually the exception and not the rule. Like, you're the exception.
Oh, but that's why we love her so very much. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a short break while we wrap up the first segment here. When we come back, we have so much to talk about. Blair's been playing Spider-Man. I know that Britt and Steimer talked about that last week. I have been playing Destiny 2 Forsaken, which I'm very excited to talk about. And of course, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is out this week as well. So lots to chat about. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It's segment 2 of the What's Good Games podcast. And before we get into our hands-on, I've been meaning to show you guys. So our long-lost love, Alexa Ray, gave me this for my birthday. If you follow me on Instagram, so you might have seen it. If you're listening on podcast, it is a giant stuffed seal. And because of our running seal bando joke, she made a little adjustment to it.
Aww.
Wait for it.
Wait, how did she do that?
So,
how does she reprogram a stuffed animal?
So, you guys, there's little flippers on the seal.
Yep.
She cut open one of the flippers and inserted this little recorder. So she custom recorded the Careless Whisper with the seal noise and then sewed it back up into the
so crafty
into the seal. Well, she used to make cosplay stuff.
Oh, that's true. I was like, I wouldn't know how to do that, but she knows how to sew.
I wouldn't either, but he's so soft and so derpy looking. But it was really sweet of her, so I wanted to show you guys. I thought you guys would appreciate
that is so cute.
The seal bando. And someday we might get Alexa Ray back on this show. I've been working at it. I said to her, I go, who do I need to talk to at Nintendo? Let's make this happen. Do I need to call Bill? I'll call Bill. Do I need to call Reggie? Let's go. So we had a good laugh about it. But she's doing well, and things are good, and she misses you all, and she sends her love. So on to games we've been playing. So in the break, Blair had asked if we had been playing Tomb Raider, and I said, I finished Tomb Raider. And you said that you thought it was unfortunate.
Yes, I did think it was very unfortunate that it came out in the shadow of Spider-Man.
Yeah, so you're not wrong. I feel like I want to give you like a wah, wah, wah for your really terrible joke.
No, it's a dad joke. That's the beautiful thing about being a dad. Everything is excused now. It's just a dad joke. All shitty jokes are dad jokes.
Please tell me that Jessica has a special look she gives you for the dad jokes.
I mean, she's got a lot of looks that she gives me depending on the situation. But, you know, you'd be surprised. Jessica makes some really shitty mom jokes, too. So it's okay. Like, we're very much on the same page with this stuff. She is cool for all of you at home that love her. But she's also not cool sometimes. I don't want to break the illusion. But
well,
she's
I think
very
we're all
not cool
human,
too.
okay? You know, we have our moments.
Yeah, she's super dorky. She likes my dad jokes. She would have never fallen in love with me if she like wanted somebody with a highbrow sense of humor. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, but it is I know you played a bunch. It is a great game, and it is just unfortunately in the release window of what will become probably the most dominant game of the year. So.
One thing I thought was super weird, or just felt very jarring to me, and since you guys have played both, I wonder if you'll agree or not. But so I finished Spider-Man and then kind of jumped into Tomb Raider, and it was so bizarre for me to go from a game where you never kill anybody. You like even if you kick someone off a building, I was like, I've clearly murdered lots of people. I've kicked them off a building. How would they have survived? They would smash on the ground and fall and die. Except I watched. And they've built in an animation. If you kick someone off a building, they are spiderweb sucked to the side of the building.
Are they really?
They are. I looked. Because I was like, I clearly killed that dude. Oh my God. They programmed that? Holy shit. They really didn't want you to like feel like you could kill someone.
Wow. That's a great Easter egg.
On the opposite side of that coin, Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah. She's a murder
where you
machine.
Kill everyone.
Yeah.
Was a very sort of I felt weird about it. I'm like shanking a guy, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this anymore, because I just came from like wholesome Spider-Man, where even though you knock someone in the head with something really heavy, they don't get a concussion or die from it somehow.
Yeah.
I want to say something along the lines of, I wish that Crystal had built in a non-lethal option, but I don't. Honestly, Trinity, they're bad dudes. I will say that there is an enemy type that I'm going to not spoil, that you meet about midway through the game, that feels wrong to murder, despite the fact that the murder animations, if they approach you, are really brutal. Like they smash your skull in, kind of brutal. But I wish that there was a way to potentially, you know, not murder people. But Trinity is proven to be like real bad news bears. So I'm cool with it there. But she is... They weren't kidding when they said that she's at the height of her powers and that she is, you know, very efficient, and she's become like Rambo. This whole idea of becoming one with the jungle and putting the mud on her face and hiding in the vine walls and up in the trees and things like that was really fun. So I'm finished with the game. I rolled credits at about 75% completion because of the new open world areas. There's a lot of the smaller collectibles and some of the challenge tombs and crypts that I didn't quite get to. But I've seen all of the story now. And so what they do when you finish is that they kick you back into the world before the final boss fight, so that you can go around and complete everything. And then you can do the final boss fight, kind of like Horizon Zero Dawn does. Or you can do, I believe, a new game plus, where you start over with all of your abilities and your upgrades. So, Steimer, how far are you in the game?
I'm only like 25%. I'm still pretty fresh, because I also thought I could just jump into Destiny 2 Forsaken, realized I hadn't done any of the other content. Like, I still have Osiris shit that I need to do.
Well,
and I was like...
Technically, you could have auto-leveled your character up.
Yeah, but that costs money.
What?
Doesn't it? Wait, how do I auto level them? I don't know how to do it. I didn't look it up.
Well, there's
I was just like, man, I guess I have to do this.
When you buy Forsaken.
Wait,
have you installed the Forsaken code yet?
it's just, I don't know, it's just on there as like a thing that I can go to.
Right, but did you go to the PlayStation Store and buy Forsaken, or did you enter the code?
No, because I had the kind of Destiny code that gave me all the expansions.
Oh. Well,
I think. Anyways.
Forsaken included on that? I
No.
feel like Forsaken's probably not a part of any expansion.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah,
No.
right?
Maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah, so I think that's
Why doesn't it try to ask me for money? What a stupid game.
you would think the first thing
Where's
they
the
would
loot
do,
box? Where's the
they would-
Forsaken
Yeah.
loot box?
Well, I think if you go to the Forsaken, it'll be like, hey, you need to purchase this.
It says nothing.
Really?
Huh.
It's like I click on it, but nothing happened. Like it just won't let me interact at all.
Oh, yeah, that's a missed opportunity. They should
Yeah.
redirect you to the store.
Yeah.
I'm like, why wouldn't you
It's like a
just tell
broken
me,
SKU or
wait,
something.
you need to actually buy this thing separately. Please go to here.
Well, we'll get you a code and get you all squared away. So if you don't want to finish the Osiris
I
stuff,
don't.
we can.
I don't like it.
Okay, good. We'll
It's
auto level
boring.
you. We're gonna shelve the Destiny conversation for a second because I have lots of things to say about it. But let's focus right now on Tomb Raider.
Okay.
So obviously, just as a disclaimer for everybody out there, you guys know that we partnered with Square Enix at PAX West to do our Life is Strange 2 event. You know that I've been hosting several panels for Square Enix and Shadow of the Tomb Raider throughout the con season this summer. And so if you want to take what I'm saying about Shadow of the Tomb Raider or the stance that we have as an outlet with a grain of salt, I just want to be transparent with everybody that yes, we have done a lot of sponsored work with Square Enix, and they have provided us with early advanced copies of the game that we got to play. That being said, Steimer, are you enjoying your time with Tomb Raider?
For the most part, yes. It definitely, granted, I'm still super early on. It feels very samey to me, which is not a bad thing. I don't mean that in a negative way. It feels like a lot of the older games. I think just coming off Spider-Man, it's a little bit of like I don't even want to say a letdown, but like I think that the way Spider-Man crafted their story was so well done. And so far, I'm not feeling as invested in Tomb Raider's story. And I think that might have to do with the issue that I felt in the second Tomb Raider, where I don't connect with Lara as a character the way I want to, because I think she's just so narcissistic that it drives me up a fucking wall, and I can't handle it. And I'm just like, meh, like, stop. But I mean, even though I talked about feeling weird about it, obviously killing dudes very fun in this game.
And in life,
So-
I mean, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the combat, I think the way that they've improved the combat makes those sequences a lot more fun. I will say I was surprised that there isn't nearly as much combat in this game as I would have thought, considering how much emphasis they put on revamping the combat system. The new stealth system is much better. I really love how I don't really need to use guns almost for anything. I'm using my bow almost exclusively when I'm in combat encounters, and that a lot of times you're really not interacting with human enemies in these wave after wave after wave like we did in the first two games. There is clearly a much bigger emphasis on world building and storytelling through the open world areas and the side quests than there was in the previous two games, which felt a little bit more linear. And because of that, I felt like these combat encounters were kind of shoehorned in there to make it feel like there was more content.
Yes, they do that a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've been really having a great time with it, and I really loved it. I'm planning to go back and play more of the challenge tombs. That was something that they clearly needed to do better. The first Tomb Raider in the reboot just did not have enough. It had like a handful of tombs that were not that difficult to solve. The second game expanded, added some challenge tombs, but this game has really kind of doubled the amount of tombs that they have even in Rise. So if you are a fan of the tomb part of Tomb Raider, you're going to absolutely love the tombs here. The challenge tombs were really challenging in some areas. I started off playing on normal difficulty across all of the sliders because I just wanted to see what the baseline experience was. And then I got to this one tomb, and I was just like running around for what felt like hours trying to figure out what to do. And so finally I was like, all right, I'm going to put the slider down to easy.
Just knock that down a peg.
And then what I love about it, though, is that it right away highlighted the thing I needed to do in a different color to indicate this is part of this difficulty setting.
Yeah.
So I know that if I turned it back up, even if I was using her survival instincts to give me some hints, that it wasn't going to give me the hint that the other difficulty slider gave me. So I really liked that, and then I ended up just leaving the slider on easy. I probably should have turned it back up because then it got to be almost too easy.
Right.
So I had to stop using survival instinct if I wanted to try to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't try it on the hardest difficulty where she says nothing.
Yeah.
And survival instinct doesn't highlight anything. You just gotta figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
But the level design is so well done in this game. They really put an emphasis on verticality with the new spelunking maneuvers. So you have your pickaxes as per usual, and they've added this ability to rappel down and up, and you really use that in traversal quite a bit throughout the tombs sections of the games and some of the crypts as well. And I really enjoyed that part of it, the traversal navigation. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't continue to die a lot in very graphic ways.
Dude, I feel like I die so much more in this game than in other like third-person action games, just from falling to my death or like just like I hit the button.
Yeah, like spears through the face.
She dies real hard.
Yeah, it was bad.
But oh wait, no, actually I won't talk about this because it might be a spoiler. So, but there were only two things that sort of are frustrating me right now, because for the most part, I think it's fairly traditional Tomb Raider gameplay that I really enjoy. Number one, they've added a lot more underwater, which for me, I'm like,
oh, see, I was literally driving in my car thinking about how great the underwater sequences are in this game.
Really? Most people don't like
it.
underwater levels.
The way that they designed the underwater levels here, like whenever I saw a body of water that I could swan dive into, I immediately did it because I knew that there was going to be something down there for me, whether it be resources that I could collect for crafting, or there'd be like a treasure, like a little box that had like animal hides or something in it, or maybe there would be an opening.
That's where I keep my animal hides in the bottom of the fucking ocean.
Well, I mean, suspension of disbelief is a video game.
No, I know. I'm joking.
But I mean, like what you get from those little urns where you can collect resources is randomized.
Little survival cache things.
And I just thought the water looked so beautifully done. And the last time I remember seeing water that looked this pretty was in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag in the Caribbean. Because this is set, the most of it is set in Peru, in the Peruvian rainforest. And the vibrancy of the way that the water looks is just so pretty. And I felt like the underwater swimming mechanic was done so smoothly that I really enjoyed it, but I also upgraded my breath right away. It was one of the first things in the skill tree that I spent points on because I knew that I hate the anxiety I get when I'm underwater and I'm running out of air.
Yeah. The screen starts to shrink a little bit on you.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm dying. Yeah. So, yeah, I did upgrade that. Not the first thing, but like one of the, first few rounds. The thing that it was mostly irritating to me, and it's not a lot, so I don't want to freak anybody out about this, but they have added enemies to underwater, like fucking piranhas and eels, and I'm like, can you not? I'm stressed out enough thinking I'm going to suffocate down here. I don't need to worry about these things biting me to death or this thing wrapping around me for some fucking reason. Like, just chill out. Let me be stressed out enough by almost suffocating to death.
Yeah.
Getting from point to point where she takes, I'm always like, Laura, you are a badass because you just take one breath and then you're good to go. I'm like, I would be there like, oh God, I'm about to die.
I'm with you there. I did not appreciate the one-hit kill piranhas, which I had to learn by dying to them quite viciously. The eels, at least you can fight, but of course, the longer you're fighting an eel underwater, it takes up some of your breath time. But yeah, the stealth sections underwater felt a little unnecessary, like an unnecessary challenge, something that's already challenging. Yeah. But that being said, there aren't that many of them. The piranhas don't make a lot of appearances, which I appreciated. And there's several underwater sequences where there's no enemies at all.
Yeah, and there have been in one of the cities that I won't say where, but some fun little areas where it looks like it's just like a water thing in the I'm not even sure how to, like a pool in your house, but if you dive down into it, like there's little exploratory things that are really fun. So the main part about the swimming that I really hated was just those like adding stealth to swimming, because
stealth swimming.
I don't have scuba gear down here, so we can't chill out and hide in a bush for that long.
I feel like there's some swimming shit we should unpack with you at some point, because I think it goes deeper than video games, but I hear you on this.
Hey, I learned to scuba this year.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
It's a magical world
in
down there.
Cozumel, right? No,
no,
in
Cabo.
Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah.
Cozumel is where one of the scenes in Shadow of the Tomb Raider is.
Ah,
But yeah, so
nice.
I thought it was good. There's they put a nice button on the end of the trilogy story, which is great because I think Trinity was kind of wearing out their welcome, and so the way that they wrap it up, I think is really nicely done. And they kind of have left the door open for them to do more with Lara, but it's clear that they're going to take some time away from it for a while. We actually had some people write in here. Scott wrote into Dear WGG and says, "Hello, ladies. With Tomb Raider coming out to mixed reviews and reviewers I respect, like the past guests on your show, Kim Wallace saying some of the game feels half-baked. What do you think the future of the series will be? The game has never been a huge seller, and with this game reviews being mixed, will Ms. Croft be put on the shelf for a while?" Huge seller, I think, is relative. It's always sold multi-million units.
Yeah.
This franchise has been around
Yeah.
for quite some time, and it has a rabid fan base, which I discovered after working with Square at several of their community events. But I think it is more to Blair's, kind of assertion at the beginning of the segment that it's in the shadow of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is just such a stellar game that it's really having a hard time competing. I think the advantage that Tomb Raider has is that it's multi-platform, right? And Spider-Man is locked to PS4, and so this gives people who are playing on Xbox or playing on PC something to play right now, because otherwise there's not another AAA release really until October. I mean, there's a couple other video games obviously that are coming out, but I don't think anything as tentpole until...
Yeah. I think that if people don't buy
Call of
it
Duty.
now, it's something they will buy, whether that be at full retail price or on a discount or part of a whatever. But it's, I look at Tomb Raider, like it's interesting. Like what I'm most grateful for with the Tomb Raider series, and taking a step back from like gameplay to gameplay, like when you look at the trilogy, what she's become, she's at the peak of her powers, but like taking a step back from a storytelling perspective, like you got to see the evolution of a human being. And for me, like I grew up a little boy in the 80s, I had Indiana Jones, and I feel like Lara, this version of Lara could be that Indiana Jones for a generation of girls who were me as a little boy in the 80s. And so I think like we could all learn something from gaming, in that even if it does well, even if it's, the ratings are actually, they're not bad, they're not good, they're whatever, but it's like Indiana Jones, it's okay to leave a franchise alone for like a decade. Like if people love it, they'll come back to it. We didn't want to come back to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull or whatever the fuck that Indiana Jones movie was called. But the point is like we were okay with waiting. We were okay with what we had. So like let it be if you need to let it be, and maybe this, again, the sales are definitely being affected by Spider-Man right now, but if the sales make Square just put it on the back burner for a couple years, I think that's okay. I don't think people are going to forget about Tomb Raider. I think they'll be just excited years from now when they come back with whatever it is.
Yeah, I think giving it a nice long break is the right call. And obviously, Crystal Dynamics is working on their upcoming Avengers title. So that team, not that to say that they're not big enough that they could have multiple teams working on multiple projects, but I think that I would like to see it take a little bit of a break and have them go in a, in a more revamped direction. But that being said, I really enjoyed my time with this game. I wholeheartedly recommend it. When you look at the spectrum of reviews out there, I understand some of the criticisms. I know a lot of people keep pointing to the GameSpot review, which gave it a 6. And while we don't believe in scoring review or scoring games here at What's Good Games, I kind of feel compelled to say that I felt like that score was very unfair. After having played through the game myself, normally a game that's a 6 has either some really heavy narrative problems or some really heavy technical problems. And this game has neither. It has a couple issues here and there. Like there's an argument to be made about how some of the stealth doesn't feel balanced and how some of the AI doesn't feel balanced, and how there's not a lot of narrative reason to go hunt down some of these extra weapons when you can just max out the upgrades on some of the weapons that you have. But I also haven't played it on max difficulty, so maybe that's where a lot of this other stuff comes into play. I don't want to get too in the weeds with like all of the different reasons why, but if you're a fan of the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, if you've played Tomb Raider, you've played Rise, you will enjoy Shadow of the Tomb Raider. If you've never played a Tomb Raider game, this might be the one to get into. You don't need to know the story elements from the previous two to understand what's happening in this story. But if you don't like action adventure with a stealth component, then this probably isn't the game for you. And there's plenty of other things out there for you to try. But I really enjoyed it. It looks beautiful on Xbox One X. I have not seen it on a Pro. Are you playing it on your PS Pro?
No, I'm playing on Xbox One X.
And I'm playing it with prioritized frame rate, and it looks gorgeous.
Oh, I have it flipped.
You play it with resolution?
Yeah, I have it for resolution. I don't know why. It's just it defaulted to that, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Why not? I'll give it a try.
Yeah, I tried it. I tried it with both, and I just kind of liked the look of frame rate better. And I find in combat sequences in particular that having high frame rate seems to make the game run a little bit smoother. But it's all about
I probably
should
switch it.
It's all about personal preference. But yeah, so if you guys have any other questions about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, let us know. Obviously, I want to hear what Brittany has to say about it when she comes back. Probably would be a little bit before she gets to it, though, since I don't believe she took a console with her. She maybe took her Switch. Yeah,
I don't think cruise ships in general are known for their rocking like power supplies, so like, you shouldn't probably bring a console there.
Yeah, indeed. So let's now move to Blair. Before we get to Destiny, let's talk about you've been playing Spider-Man and Dead Cells. We've been talking a little bit about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Are you going for the plat?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that's probably my favorite thing about the game. And full disclosure, Ryan Schneider from Insomniac is one of my dear friends and also my cycling coach, which we'll get into later.
Oh, so, Ryan is great.
So he's a great dude who's helped me out a lot in life. So my opinion of of this game is not painted by that, but I want you to know that he's a dear friend of mine. But no, I think what I love about Spider-Man as a dad who has very limited time to play games, I am not normally incentivized to finish a game 100%. Like, I'll finish the story because I love RPGs are my favorite genre. I love story. That I love reading. I read a lot of. Wow, that sounds weird. I read a lot of books, but reading is my favorite pastime. I love reading. That's why I love RPGs. I love stories in games, but I'm not often incentivized to do things beyond finish a story. I want to 100% Spider-Man because it's just it feels like the first Crackdown, and it's like there's just enough orbs out there to where I know I can collect all this shit. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's not 700 orbs, it's just 300, and I think 300 are in my reach.
Just enough.
Yeah. So I think they did a wonderful job of balancing, obviously story and gameplay aside, which are stellar. Like gameplay alone, the mechanics of this game are just. It's Sunset. When they made Sunset Overdrive, I went. Ryan and I were talking. I was like, dude, you got to get your hands on like Spider-Man or Superman or something. And then they announced Spider-Man. I was like, this is going to make a lot of sense when you make this. But they balanced that gamer itch too, because we all as gamers also have that additional thing we want from games. And for some people, it's collecting things, and for other people, it's something else. But there's just enough extra stuff to do. So I will 100% this game, and it's great. I'm grateful. As I sit in a PlayStation household, I am grateful that Sony has this, but you hit on a great point. Like, it does bum me out that people that don't have PlayStations aren't experiencing this. Quite frankly, between this and God of War, they're really missing out on some
They really are.
Incredible experiences.
And
like revelatory gaming experiences, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and as you mentioned, we're a PlayStation household. You know, I was with John when he got to watch his name animated in the end credits, which was such a moment for him because he's been working on this deal and for Spider-Man with PlayStation for years at this point with Insomniac and, you know, and the team over at Sony. And so he's been really excited about it. And you know, obviously we talk about on the show a lot that we do the majority of our console gaming on PlayStation 4. They just have kind of really dominated this generation. And I was a diehard 360 fan. Mm-hmm. I never turned on my PS3. I turned it on to play Uncharted and The Last of Us. And like that was pretty much it. Yeah. And so not to say that I'm disappointed with what Xbox has done, because I still think that they have a lot of potential, particularly after the crazy studio announcements that they made at E3.
Love what they're doing,
that they clearly are making a play to catch up, at least if not in this generation, in the next one.
Yep.
But it's hard to make an argument if people are saying, you know, should I buy an Xbox or should I buy a PlayStation? It's hard to make an argument why not PlayStation?
Yeah.
You know, like why would you get an Xbox over PlayStation at this particular point in time? Yeah. And Spider-Man is a great reason. And I know there's some people out there that are holding out hope. I would never hold your breath. I doubt Spider-Man is ever going to leave console exclusivity. I don't anticipate that coming at any point. And it's going to be like Street Fighter V. Like that game is always and forever a PS4 exclusive.
Yeah. I think that, you know, there's probably an argument to be made about either console. I mean, I found we you guys too, like we own all the consoles and whatever, and I say that I probably get equal use out of all of them. I think just like taking a step back, my statement on gaming in general is that while I appreciate the fact that gaming is a business, I wish it wasn't so much of a business, that exclusivity needed to happen.
Right.
Because I want everybody to experience this stuff. I really do. I want people to experience League of Legends on a console. Like, I mean, it's just across the board. Like there are just certain kind of definitive gaming experiences that for the most part are usually siloed off onto one particular platform. And it just sucks, you know, like it really, really does suck.
It does.
And, you know, it'll never change because it's a business and I understand
money.
That. But, you know, but it is one of those things where I can say that without any question that if you do not have a PlayStation, you should buy one for this game in much the same way you should buy one for God of War if you hadn't already done so. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that level of, I remember the last time I truly felt that way was when Gears came out for Xbox. I was like, if you don't have an Xbox, now is your reason to buy an Xbox. And that's how I feel about Spider-Man. Like, that's how good this game is.
Dude, I actually haven't really kind of dipped my toes in yet. But I'm excited to do so. I just, like, when I got back from Copenhagen, when I was out of the country last week, I had Spider-Man installed, and I had Destiny, and I had Tomb Raider, and I was like, I know once I start Spider-Man, I'm gonna get sucked down that rabbit hole. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna delay really getting into it. And I finished Tomb Raider, which I was happy that it wasn't like a 100-hour experience. Thank you, Square. And I've obviously been playing a lot of Destiny, which we're going to talk about. But, man, it feels so nice to see a team like Insomniac have such a great win. Obviously, PlayStation has had quite a few wins over the last few years. But like you, I know many people that work at Insomniac. And I know just how dedicated they are to the craft and how they've really stayed true as a studio to their creative vision. And they haven't had like a huge win in a while. Obviously, Ratchet and Clank was very big for them, but it wasn't like this big like publicity win in the same way, even though it sold really well. And I was talking to a friend of mine who works there, and I said to him, I was like, I'm just like so happy for you guys that you guys are going to have this like mega blockbuster success, because you're a studio that's been independent for so many years and continues to put out quality games, and you deserve a big pat on the back for all of the work you've done. So I hope they get it. Yeah.
And it does, like, I will say, it does say a lot about, I know oftentimes people see a licensed game and they go, why is that studio working on that? But, you know, looking back at what Insomniac's done, I loved Sunset Overdrive. I thought Sunset Overdrive was a phenomenal top 10 game of that year. But it was a new IP, and new IPs are hard. And so I'm glad that Insomniac did a licensed game, because people are paying attention now to how great Insomniac is as a developer. And that makes me happy, you know, because they do great work. And Ratchet was a great example of like critically acclaimed, sold well at a lower price point. I believe it was like $40 when it came out. Now Spider-Man's a big franchise. People are paying attention to them, and they're making a ton of money. So it's good across the board for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spider-Man. Steimer, you have been getting back into Destiny. Now,
sort of.
Your trials with Curse of Osiris aside, the first expansion, are you excited to get into some Forsaken? Or are you just like, am I dragging you kicking and screaming?
I'm not kicking or screaming, but you are going to drag me a little bit. I'm like, okay, here's my hand. lead me. Because especially what I've been playing with Osiris, I'm like, oh my God, the mission design is so fucking boring. I want to kill myself. Like, it's literally just, that's so super over dramatic, but like, it's just like too much of the, I walk into an area, I kill a wave of dudes, I move on. I walk into an area, I kill a wave of dudes, I move on. And like, especially after coming off of these other games where the mission design is really varied and they put a lot of care and effort into it so that you don't get that fatigue, to experience it, and especially like an expansion that's only a few hours long, and I'm like, you couldn't have like mixed this up at all? Like, the slightest bit? I don't know. So to me, that's
You're so upset about this. I love it so much.
Welcome to our show where I bitch about everything, and for some reason people listen to it.
It's true.
But so yeah, but I just keep hearing people really being excited about Forsaken and saying that it's doing all these wonderful things. So I am just trying to keep my chin up and like get through the other stuff. Although now I'm apparently gonna go skip it, but
we'll get you to skip it.
Yeah, and I don't need to play the old stuff. I just wanna play the good stuff.
Don't look back.
Show me your best, Bungie.
So obviously, I've been talking about Destiny on What's Good Games since we've launched. You guys know that I lead the What's Good Guardians, our awesome PS4 clan. I believe somebody started an Xbox clan. I know a lot of you have been asking me. I'll try to get the name of that and get the clan information. But Forsaken is the culmination of a lot of things that Bungie has been promising since the launch of Destiny 2. Kind of made real, like realized. Now, do they still have some work to do? Obviously, it's always a game in progress with Bungie, but it's finally at a place where it feels really good again, and it feels like the gameplay loop feels rewarding on a continual basis, and it doesn't feel like I'm artificially grinding for anything, at least not yet. I haven't gotten to that point yet. There's always going to be some kind of a grind with Destiny. It's just it's part of the ecosystem. So I have completed the main story missions, and as with all Destiny expansions, that doesn't mean that it's over. There's more content after that in the open world sections of the game where you can patrol and go on adventures and do strikes, and you can replay heroic story missions. And what I love about what they've changed with Forsaken is that they've given you more reasons to go after some of these quests. So they've opened up how you get rewards. These powerful rewards is what they call them in the game, which gives you drops of gear that are much higher or substantially higher than where you're currently at. Whereas just regular grinding in the world will give you drops.
One level, 2 levels, whatever.
Yeah, but generally not very good. And so they kind of give you these milestones every week, and they've revamped that to give you more opportunities to earn things, including the return of daily missions, which I love. So the daily Crucible is back. The daily story mission is back. Daily Strike is back. They've got special rewards for Gambit, which I think is really great, which is the new kind of PvP/PvE mode that they
we played that at E3. That was fun.
Yeah, we have to play again. I haven't really spent too much time with Gambit since launch, because most of the time me playing Destiny has been with a bad internet connection, so I haven't really gone into PvP too much. But
probably smart.
The way that they've designed the narrative around adventures this time around, I thought was really smart and really interesting. It kind of allowed you to experience the narrative in the order and the pace that you wanted to. So if I wanted to go and do some open world things, I could, but then I could go back to the story when I wanted to. I really liked that. Their reinvestment in cutscenes was great. There's some really fantastic cutscenes in the new story, and where they're taking it is really fascinating. And I don't want to give away too much because we're going to be learning a lot more. They've set up, obviously, something to happen in the raid, which I believe will have launched by the time the show goes live. And they are pulling together all of these different threads of lore that Bungie has been creating since vanilla Destiny, and bringing in things from different expansions and kind of like all making them come together in this unique narrative place that I think is going to have an awesome payoff. If some of the fan theories that I've been reading on Reddit and that I've heard from some of the What's Good Guardians actually come to fruition, it could be a moment where Bungie finally gives us like the narrative payoff we've been waiting for in Destiny. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And something that Bungie, I think, has always done really excellently, besides obviously the best-in-class gameplay with first-person shooting, is they've dropped nuggets of lore around the world and really incentivized the community to go find them.
Yeah.
And not giving them any clues as to how to find them.
Where are we right now in the Destiny life cycle? Like like when was Destiny announced?
It was announced in 2013. It was released in 2014. And so we are year 5, I believe, of Destiny.
So that's what my position on Destiny has always remained the same. And that is, when they announced this game, they announced that this is a 10-year plan, right? And so with anything that no television series or movie is going to come out of the gate and say we got a 10-year plan. And so what happens in that 10 years, you have to drip feed the audience. Not everything's going to land the way you want it to. So it's super hard for me, I always tell people, because everybody dips in and out, and I've tried to play as much as I can through the years, time permitting, but it's like, anybody that asks me my opinion, I'm like, you have to ask me my opinion in 10 years. Like, you have to let me judge this based on the sum of all of its parts, because that is what the plan was. And so I love that what you're saying is 5 years in is that they're finally starting to tie stuff together. And that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like, of course they're going to have some misses, but like, okay, now it's starting to come together, right? I think as a Destiny fan, I bet you guys have your best years in front of you. Like
I sure hope so, because a couple of those years were pretty rough.
But that's like, like Lost fans.
If you don't,
and like
then
any long-term fan of anything is like, man, seasons 4 through 6 really, whatever. Like it's everything, So is this the first time that we've in the gaming space that we've seen a franchise come out and say we have a 10-year plan and you have to invest for 10 years? It is, right? I mean, is anybody else
like preemptively say that?
Yeah, like listen, like
WoW has been around.
Yeah,
forever.
I was going to use WoW as an example too, but they didn't like set out at the beginning to say, "Hey, we're 20 years from now, we're going to like give you a narrative payoff." In WoW.
Yeah. So while Bungie probably can back into a lot of things now, like perhaps they have planned for a lot of this.
Well,
stuff,
what's interesting about bringing up WoW as an example is that there's some speculation amongst some of the people I've played with that perhaps Blizzard's new close relationship with Activision's other studios, because of them launching exclusively through the Blizzard infrastructure, perhaps they've also been sharing some knowledge about, hey, if you want to learn something about world building in long-term, shared space world games. Sorry, there was a lot of words there.
Yeah, but it made a lot of sense.
Maybe we can talk to you and give you some advice about how you can maybe change some things.
Yeah.
No, but how I've always like talked about, I'm like, you guys, Bungie is near ArenaNet. Guild Wars 2 has some fantastic endgame design. Go talk to them. Like, there are other people that know how to do this. Just lean on the experts in the industry around you. People, like, developers love chatting with each other. I'm sure that it wouldn't be like considered a weird thing at all.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I've just been having a blast with it. It's something that I think about playing constantly. I was listening to you and Britt last week talk about how, you think about playing Spider-Man during the day and you want to get home to keep playing it. And that's how I feel about Forsaken, and how I'm like, I just want to keep playing it. And all of these international trips with terrible Wi-Fi and hotels are really cramping my style.
Delicious champagne.
Oh my God, traveling so hot.
Okay, I deserve that. But I've been really, really enjoying it. And if you guys are hesitating, I would say don't hesitate. I know that there's a lot of people out there that have issues with the cost. And I would say of all of the expansions that I've played for Destiny, this seems the most robust with content. And I'm not going to say that there isn't an argument to be made that some of this content should have been included in previous expansions or potentially even in the base game, because I agree with you. But at this point, I'm so invested in the ecosystem that I kind of don't care.
Yeah. And really, when
I know
you
that
think
that
about
sounds
it,
really terrible to say, but
what are you spending? I mean, we could break it down. Like, what are you spending per minute? Like, how many hours an hour of your life has this game given you, right? So in the end of
thousands,
the day,
literally thousands of hours.
It's breaking down. It's a pretty cost-effective form of entertainment.
Yeah.
When you really think about it.
I just, everybody's barometer for what your value is different. You know, like you have to decide for yourself, like, what is the dollar that I earn worth spending on? And if you don't think that Destiny in the expansions and the upcoming season pass are going to be worth your money, then don't do it. But I have gotten literally thousands of hours of enjoyment out of this franchise. And I buy silver because I enjoy getting custom emotes and things like that. But you don't have to do that. And I think that the amount of content that Bungie and Activision have provided is worth the cost for me, because I enjoy playing with the clan so much and enjoy playing with my other friends who are playing Destiny that maybe aren't even in the clan. That having that camaraderie is worth the price. Is worth the price for entry for me, for sure. So we'll get you caught up, Steimer. Don't you worry.
Yay.
We don't have too much time left in this section, but I did want to briefly talk about Celeste, because I really drug my feet on this. I know this came out way early in the year, and when it came out, I was like, nope, it's a side-scrolling Metroidvania style 2D. It's not for me. It's too difficult, but it got such rave reviews. I made a promise that I would play this game before the end of the year for Game of the Year considerations, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that I got over these reservations that I had, because it really is a fantastic game. Have you played?
I have, yeah.
Steimer, you haven't played, right?
No, I have.
Oh, you have?
I haven't finished it. I have played it.
Yeah, I'm on the final section because I've been playing it on the plane, so I obviously had this like 24-hour round trip flight. That's not an exaggeration. On my last trip, and I'm going to Tokyo, so I have plenty of time. But I tweeted about my frustration with playing it with the Joy-Con joystick, because
the little nubbins.
Because you need like pixel perfect precision in this game. And so I would say to you, if you guys are like me and you've heard good things about Celeste and you haven't played, I'm going to recommend it to you. And I'm going to recommend it to you for a couple of reasons. First, the execution of the gameplay for the platforming is unlike anything that I've really seen. The last game that I played that really kind of got to me in this way was Ori and the Blind Forest, which I loved. And while you're going to die over and over and over again, the thing that really kind of stuck with me was at the very beginning of the game. There's a screen explaining the way that they would like you to play. And then there's another screen that says, but if that's not for you, that's okay. We have all of these accessibility options for you because we want you to experience the game. But then there's a last screen that says, you can do this. It's just, that's all it says on the screen. And that really got to me because I was ready to put all of the assist mode stuff on right away from the beginning. And then I was like, you know what?
They have faith in me.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it on normal mode and see how it goes. And I haven't dropped it down. I've been playing it on normal the entire time and just dying over and over again. And they'll give you, little interstitial scenes every now and again that says, wear your deaths like a badge of honor, and don't think that you have to get all of the strawberries or whatever the thing are. They're strawberries, right? That you get?
Yes,
They're like, they're totally optional. You're not going to get any kind of a bonus outside of the fact knowing that you did it. Bragging rights to your friends. And I was like, that makes me feel better because, there's a lot of those. And I'm like, I don't know how the heck anybody got that thing over there. I'm not going to go for it. But the other thing that was a big takeaway for me outside of the really fantastically executed platforming gameplay is the narrative and how the whole game is really an allegory for this mountain that she's climbing and how it kind of represents these demons inside her, and how there's this enemy in the game that is truly a part of her, and that she has to face off against this part of herself. And I don't want to spoil how it ends, but throughout each stage of the game, it's her recognizing this problem that she has with herself and how she's addressing it and how she's dealing with it. And the way it speaks to mental illness and mental health and anxiety and depression, and letting the player and the character know that she's not alone, and that this isn't just her in her mind, that it's okay that she's having trouble and it's okay that she's having problems. I think that bigger narrative and that bigger takeaway is so important and such a fantastic message that's expertly crafted and wielded through a game that executes from a gameplay perspective in such a fantastic way. I understand now why this game got perfect scores.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's number one, it speaks to, I think, the responsibility that studios are starting to feel about how many people touch their products, especially people during impressionable and developmental times in their lives. And I certainly can't more eloquently put why the game is awesome, other than in a year of extraordinary side scrollers with Dead Cells and Salt and Sanctuary on the Switch, and Hollow Knight and SteamWorld Dig 2. This is a must-have in a year of like we've had an overabundance of riches so far, and like you're absolutely right in that. I think it does tell, it's a phenomenal game. Like, it handles like Super Meat Boy, which is something that bar is super high, but the story being told here is like it's like Ori, it's like Braid. Like when you get it, you're like, holy shit, man, this snuck up on me. But then you look back on it and you go, oh yeah, you were telling me that the entire time. Yeah, it's great.
I'm not gonna pretend like I didn't almost throw my Switch in the airplane several times.
But that's why you buy those games too, right? I mean, those aren't easy things.
Oh my gosh. And like you have to like perfect run almost every single level. There's no places for you to make a mistake, and it's very Super Meat Boy in that vein, that like they're like, oh no, you thought that you could take it easy in this corner? We're gonna put another obstacle there. If you don't nail it every single step of the way, you're gonna die and do it again.
We spent so much time making the most precise controls ever that we're gonna punish you if you're not good at it.
Yeah. I think I'm over 900 deaths now. I'm not even done yet.
Be proud. That's a good death.
Have you tried playing with the Pro Controller, Andrea? Have you like felt the difference?
No, but I'm planning to bring the Pro Controller with me on this next trip.
And just like kickstanding the
the Switch and using the Pro Controller. It's tough though, because I'm so deep into the game now. I've almost like learned how to how to
use the little nubbins.
Yeah, so I feel like if I try, I'm gonna have to relearn on the Pro Controller. But
also think about how much better you're gonna feel if you finish it this way.
Yeah. On hard mode?
Yeah, just keep it going, man.
Double hard mode, which is handheld mode.
I'm close to the end. I'm excited to see the payoff. It's been really great. So I wanted to talk about my experience with it, because I was really stubborn early this year about not playing it, because I thought that it wasn't going to be for me. And I'm so glad that I gave it a chance. So if you're like me and you were being stubborn too, and you're like, nah, I'll get to it, play it. Don't sleep on this.
I gotta pick it back up again.
It's so good.
Because like I said, I put it down when something starts to chase you, which is fairly early on in the game, but I was just like, ah!
Yeah, chapter 3, the hotel chapter, is real intense. Yeah. That was the one I died the most on. There are more chasey things later on in the game. I'm sorry to tell you,
Stop chasing me.
It's very cartoony though. It's not.
It's still stressful.
Yeah,
it's the stress. It's the added stress of like, I already need to figure out what I need to do, just platforming wise, to get to the other side, right? And then nail that perfectly, and then I have to not get caught by this fucking thing. And I'm like,
it gets worse. I hate to tell you.
I know. I want to do it though. I need to go back and like just suck it up and try again. Try again.
All right, well, we're going to end this segment of hands-on and take one last short break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Blair about what he's been up to in life, how he's managing his work-life balance, and, of course, talk about Pablove. Pablove? Yeah.
Both ways are right.
Yeah, we're going to talk about where this comes from. Yeah. So stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to segment 3 of the What's Good Games podcast. We, of course, have been chatting with our special guest, Blair Herter, here all show long. We hope that you have been enjoying his commentary. Blair, at the top of the show, we talked a little bit about, the kind of work that you've done and what you're doing now.
Yep.
But the reason you're here And the reason you reached out to me, and I'm so glad that you did, because I guess I just assumed that you would be too busy to ever, come by the studio, because you guys are obviously based in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Is that you are working on this amazing charitable drive, this organization that you've been working with for a couple of years now.
Yeah. So first of all, it's not the only reason I reached out.
Oh, thank you.
I will say
you love John Drake too. I get it.
I do love me some John Drake. I'm not a gaming personality anymore, so I don't even know if you guys want me. So I'm glad that I could have this excuse for you to say yes, because who cares about my opinion these days? But yeah, so I'm on the board of directors of the Pablove Foundation, which is a nonprofit based out of Los Angeles. Although we've got a lot of initiatives happening all over the country, but we fund cutting-edge pediatric cancer research and arts programs for children and families that are fighting cancer. Because oftentimes the kind of going statement is that the minute that a kid finds out they have cancer is the minute they stop being a kid. And so our focus is A, curing that, right? We don't want anybody to ever have to go through that. And B, teaching children that, like, no, you're still a child. Like, we live our lives, like, have fun and whatever. So, so we do a number of fundraising initiatives throughout the year, but one of the major things we focus on is a bike ride called Pablove Across America. This is the 10th anniversary of the ride. We're riding bikes from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which is about 600 miles, about 30,000 feet of climbing. It's a 7-day ride.
That's a lot of climbing.
It is. And I did last year, a little backstory. I got involved in the organization. My brother called me last year. My younger brother called me last year and said, hey, I'm going to be in LA in October. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. What are you doing? He's like, well, I'm actually riding my bike from San Francisco to LA. And I was like, well, I'm going to ride my bike from San Francisco to LA. I'm going to be better at it than you because I'm your big brother.
Sounds right.
Yeah. The next day I bought a bike because I didn't cycle, and trained and whatever, and went on the ride and raised money to go on the ride, and thought, oh, this would be cool. It'll be a thing I do with my brother. I'll raise some money for a good cause, and then I'll move on with my life. And then during the ride, the people that participate on the ride are cancer survivors, parents whose children have beat cancer, parents who have lost their kids to cancer. And so during that 7 days, like fundamentally, I think something in me shifted. And so when I got back to LA, I called the organization. I was like, I got to do more. Like, I'll stuff envelopes, I'll pump bike tires. Like, what do you need me to do? We are fortunate that we live in a space, that we work in a space that is still very young. Gaming is still very young. Digital is certainly very young. And so the board of directors for Pablove that exists was very entertainment focused, music, television, film, but they didn't really have anybody that knows this world like I do. And so that's how I got involved there. And so cut to this year, it's the 10th anniversary of the ride. There are 50 of us doing the ride. 50 of us have committed to raising $1 million for pediatric cancer research and the arts programs. Personally, I've committed to raising $75,000.
That is a lofty goal.
It is pretty high, but I'm very fortunate to know great people like you on the screen, and really amazing communities of people that I've been in gaming for almost 20 years, and I know there's a passion there and a loyalty and a community there that doesn't exist in other mediums. And so it is a lofty goal, but I've been able to tap into a couple of really great communities. My friends at Critical Role have been very helpful. They've through them I've raised almost $46,000.
That's fantastic.
I was visiting the kind of funny folks this morning as well. And so just kind of making the rounds with the people that, quite frankly, have given me so much in my life. Like, this gaming world has given me so much. And so now I'm just basically going around and asking for more, a little more help. So as it currently stands, I'm about $9,000 away from the goal.
That is fantastic,
which is
news.
Great. I mean, the reality is, just so you know, and the fans at home know, any little bit is helpful. Like, the Critical Role community specifically, people are donating 50 cents a dollar. Like, it doesn't matter. Just being a part of this movement is important. We're going to hit $75,000 for sure, but I've set a personal goal of $100,000. Actually, I'm going to raise that because we have friends in the industry. Last year was the first year I did the ride, and I didn't know how to fundraise. I didn't know how to ride a bike in that way. And so I just made personal calls to the Cliff Blazinskis of the world and Ken Levies. And I was like, hey, nice. Rich people, cut me a check. Like, real talk, just cut me a check.
Yeah.
They were very supportive. I haven't made those calls yet this year. I know that they will respond in the same way that they did last year. And so the goal, I'd love to go into this ride having raised 1/10 of the money by myself. Like that would make me super happy. And so, yeah, so I'm just doing the rounds, man. And took the day off of work, came up here to visit you guys. And, you know, I'm very fortunate to do what I do. I think we're all very fortunate to have the jobs that we have. But I can tell you that as an adult and as a professional, like, what the work that I get to do at the Pablove Foundation is the most meaningful stuff I've ever done. So I often joke with Jessica that if we didn't have a certain lifestyle that we've become accustomed to living, and I didn't have a child that I want to pay for his schooling and give him all the things that I didn't have growing up, I would just do this full time. Like I would full on, like it's just, you know, we're trying to cure cancer.
Yeah,
like
I mean, cancer is one of those things that there isn't a person now that hasn't been touched by it 100%. In some way.
Yeah.
And I remember doing a study about cancer when I was in high school. And back then, the statistics were 1 in 2 people knows somebody that has cancer, and 1 in 3 people knows somebody that has died of cancer.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine that number is even higher now. And it's just really, quite frankly, it's shitty.
Yeah.
Cancer is the fucking worst.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and the idea that kids, it's hard enough listening to adults go through cancer or seeing like your parents or your brothers or your sisters, you know, go through cancer. That's really fucking hard. But seeing a kid who hasn't had their life yet go through it at such a young age is even more heartbreaking. And that's why, you know, I think so many people come out every year to support organizations like Extra Life or, you know, the Children's Miracle Network. And this is before you started tweeting and posting on Facebook about this charity. I had no idea who they were. And hearing stories from you about, you know, who they are as an organization and what motivated you to get involved has really been inspiring for me to like kind of look into who they are as a group and the kind of amazing work that they do.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Thank you for doing the research. I have plenty of stuff to talk about with you offline if you want. But I mean, that's the reality of it. Like not getting into the politics of like big pharma and things like that. But, you know, cancer research on the whole is not as funded as other more profitable things. And of the funded cancer research, only 4% of that goes to pediatric cancer specifically.
That's crazy.
And let's be honest, like I lost my grandfather and my grandmother. My grandmother eventually died of dementia, but she had cancer. I lost my grandfather to cancer, but they lived very long and very happy lives. And so, yes, like kids, fuck that. We have a responsibility as adults to make sure that kids don't have to go through this. And so that's our focus is, you know, the funding doesn't really come to kids in that way. And so the organization as a whole has been very fortunate. It was founded by a mother and a father who lost their son, Pablo. And they're very plugged into the entertainment industry, very, very plugged in. So for a number of years, even to this day, a lot of the funding from for the organization comes from very big Hollywood donors. And that's great. And we're very grateful for that. But my focus I think the youngest board member, my focus is to turn this into a more, not a grassroots thing. You can't be a grassroots campaign when you're something that's been around for 10 years, but like to bring more of this conversation to more of our people, right? And I think like for us, that's the important thing is just getting the word out that across the United States and then globally eventually as well, that, you know, I think that we can all be in this together and we need to, you know, there are a lot of organizations doing a lot of great things, but this one in particular for me, again, because the focus in a lot of ways isn't on kids, and it should be, because I feel like, and we believe, if you can cure pediatric cancer, you can cure other cancer. I mean, it is what it is. And what's exciting about the Pablove organization for me as a science nerd is that, so we do 2 different things, by the way. So with the money that we raise, we fund science and arts programs. So the science, we fund 2 different things. We do what's called $50,000 seed grants, and we do $250,000 accelerator grants. And when you're a researcher, when you're a private researcher, you spend the majority of your time writing grants and looking for money. So you don't spend as much time as you should be actually doing the thing that you're actually trying to accomplish. And so we hope to eliminate that by saying, hey, researcher that we're excited about, here's $250,000. Stop looking for money. Just go do the work. Go cure the cancer. But the seed grants are really interesting in that we're focusing on cutting edge cancer research. So there are a lot of traditional things that are happening, a lot of people researching the same types of cancer. we're looking into the people that, and this is where like I think we can connect with the nerd community, which I like. We're looking into the people that are like injecting nanobots and robots into cancer cells and like crazy, like outside of the box thinking that that's the type of shit that will cure something, right? So we fund that side, and then the art side of things is we do the Shutterbugs program, which is a photography program that we've now launched in 9 cities around the country. We get kids that are going through chemo and going through the process, and we put them through photography classes, and we teach them how to express themselves through their photographs. And that's a big part of it, but it's also about bringing them together with other kids. And when we bring them together with other kids that are going through what they're going through, we make it's a very important rule that we've set for ourselves. Like, we don't talk about cancer. We don't talk about them being cancer kids. They're just kids who are getting together to learn photography. Because, again, when you're a kid who gets diagnosed, that becomes your entire life. And we just think that's super unfair. And so we try to provide them with an experience that allows them to be, we were all very fortunate to not have to go through that as children. And, you know, we do our best to make sure that they're kind of going through the same thing. So, yeah, it's an important thing for me. I mean, outside of my family, it's probably the most important thing I'll ever do. So, you know.
I mean,
here we are.
It's incredibly inspirational and commendable, the work that you're doing, not only to help these kids, but to put yourself out there in a physical way to help these kids and to raise money. And please do keep asking all the rich people in this business for some of that money. Maybe knock on Epic's door.
Yeah, no.
I heard that they have some money over at Epic Games.
I can tell you
just
that
a little bit.
I did email my friends at Epic last week, and they were all very generous. So, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the games industry, man. Like, we're a very young industry. If people with very big hearts, we talked a lot about the business of games throughout the course of this show, but the reality is, like, at the end of the day, most of the people are very, very, very good people. And some of them have made a lot of money playing video games or making video games, and they've all been really kind to the process. So
I'm really glad to hear that. I think that's no surprise to anybody listening or watching this show that the video game community takes care of its own and takes care of other people as well. It's a very welcoming, supportive place, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah.
Even though there are obviously some small pockets of toxicity out there, the overwhelming love that we feel in this community is undeniable.
Yep.
And anybody who's ever been to a trade show or a convention or a gathering of any kind of gamers can hopefully have, you know, a story to tell or an experience that they can think of where they had an amazing, supportive, welcoming you know, experience in the world of video games. So Blair, if people want to get involved to help you reach your goal, to smash the goal, how do they give back?
2 things. They can either just go to our personal, my brother and I have combined our fundraising efforts because he's younger. He is better on a bike than me, but my friends are financially in a different place than his. And so I'm like, let me just,
you're like, he's younger and fitter, but my friends are richer.
Let me just, I'll just combine, and then, you know, maybe we'll raise most of the money. And so, so our fundraising page is give.classy.org/Team Herter, which I'm sure will be somewhere.
It'll be in the show notes and in the YouTube description. We'll put it on our Twitter page, and you can, of course, find it on Blair's social media as well, which will be in the description as well.
Yeah, I've posted a lot about this over the last couple months, but it doesn't need to be about our fundraising. That's very helpful. But if you just want to learn more about the organization and donate directly there, it's just pablove.org, PABLOVE.org. And I would highly recommend, I mean, I'm here to fundraise for my particular effort, but if you have a moment, just go and check out what the organization is doing. And I think over the next couple of years, the board tenure, we have 3-year terms, and I'm about a year into mine. And most of my first year was done focused on infrastructure, and we're actually, seriously, shout outs to Ubisoft, Humble Bundle, and a couple other places. We have some things in the work with them right now, and they're fucking great. And so thank you to support those companies, because they are truly trying to do good things. But my next 2 years are going to be more of just an overall education. And so part of that will be a lot of volunteer opportunities in areas we're not currently in. So if you have the time, check out the organization's website and keep an eye on that, because I think there'll be ways to contribute moving forward.
And what's the website address again?
Just pablove.org, PABLOVE.org.
Fantastic. I do have a question here from Michael Fitzgerald. It says, hello, Andrea, I hope you're enjoying Destiny. My question is for Blair, though.
Confirm, Michael, she is enjoying Destiny. We talked about it.
How has the response and generosity from the critters been for the Pablove Foundation?
Yeah, I've said it. I believe I tweeted about it. I've certainly expressed this to the Critical Role founders, the employees, the staff, and the community. I'm 38 years old. I did my first gaming related thing when I was 19. So I've been doing this for 20 years. The Critical Role community is legitimately unlike anything I've ever seen. Like what they have built and what you guys have built together is, I don't know how to describe it. I wasn't expecting like Sam and Laura and Travis and Marissa and all those people that started that company. When I went to them like a couple months ago and said, hey, I'm going to do this fundraising thing. Would you mind helping? And they're like, of course we would. And just so you know, our community, when the floodgates open, they're going to open. And I was like, oh, that'll be great. We'll make a little bit of money.
Was not prepared.
I mean, I was getting the day that we made the announcement that we were working together. I got an email or a text from literally every executive at Pablove. So all of the development and executive branch, they have an alert that goes off when a donation comes in as part of a fundraising effort. They were like, we had to turn off alerts because in 24 hours, over 800 people had donated. And again,
that's fantastic.
These are massive donations, like an extraordinary amount, 250 cents. But like I expected the gaming community to support a good cause, but I wasn't expecting like I'm assuming that this young man is a critter, and dude, much love to you guys because you guys are the best.
Steimer is.
You're you're too?
Yeah, hell yeah, of course I am.
Have you been to a show or their studios or anything like that?
I went and watched an episode live once. Actually, no, it wasn't the episode. It was the show that Brian hosts.
Okay.
Talks Machina.
Yeah.
So I went and watched the Talks Machina once.
Yeah.
But yeah, like those people are all great, and the critter community, like you said, is fucking phenomenal.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The only community that I have seen even come like a little bit close, and obviously we're much smaller, is both our community of What's Good Games fans and the Kind of Funny Best Friends. And, you know, we've been very fortunate that there's obviously a lot of overlap between our two audiences. I don't know a lot of critters. I'm not part of the Critical Role community because I listen to D&D and I get lost.
Yeah.
But I am always continually amazed by the good that our community does and how they take care of each other and how they are so welcoming, not only to us, but to new people in our community. So I hope that you guys out there, will get involved, whether it's with, Pablove or it's with a number of the other organizations, that we talk about on the show. Yep. There's takethis.org, there's stackup.org, there's ablegamers.org. As, Blair was saying, there's a ton of great charities out there.
Yep.
But I think we all can agree, like, kids with cancer fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I was at Tri-Delta, so our main charity of support was St. Jude.
Yeah.
So, this obviously very near and dear to my heart. So actually, while you guys were talking, I was looking at the website because I know that you've done this for a while, but I never have taken a moment to go and actually look at the site.
Yeah.
And now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait, this Shutterbugs program looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
You want to do it?
I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you after this.
Yeah, no, we'll talk. And I want to underline a takeaway here that I hope I know your people know this, but do not let the media in general define what you think the gaming community is. There are small pockets of toxicity, but in many ways, I'm thankful that I feel like gaming has shown a light into those dark corners before other parts of the industry, and we're now seeing the result of I hate putting labels on things, but things like Gamergate and things like that. The things that were happening there, I think, opened up larger doors. But by and large, the gaming community is a phenomenal community, phenomenally positive, and so just don't forget that, right? You guys are a part of something amazing.
Heck yes. One more time for everybody. It's give.classy.org/Team Herter. And again, we'll put those links down in the descriptions for you guys. Blair, this has been awesome having you on the show.
I got to tell you, Jessica's soup's jelly that I came before she did. She's legitimately So let me get this straight.
I knew this was gonna happen.
What's Good Girls invited the Herter boy before. I was like, I feel like you've probably been invited and you just haven't made the trip up there.
Honestly, I think it's just been, and that's probably on me for not scheduling with her, but it's on the top of my list to reach out to her and get her in the books for a guest spot on the show. I think I unfairly put her in the camp that I always get put in, that I just assume that she's always so busy that she wouldn't have time to do the show. And I hate it when people assume that about me. So it's really shitty for me to assume it about other working professionals in this business. But we, of course, would love to get Jessica on the show. I know that
a mini girl fight reunion.
Yeah, she was recently reaching out to Steimer about getting back into WoW. We had Alana on talking about, or no, not Alana, Naomi talking about Azeroth.
Yeah.
And so
they were great, man. I feel great. I'm grateful that I got to work with both of them, albeit very briefly, but like they're great people. I see big things in their careers for sure. And I think that all of you guys are all busy. Scheduling is hard, but we talked a little bit about this earlier. There are a group of women in this industry that I think that set a very good standard, and I like you guys are obviously a part of that. And like it's almost like your responsibility to make sure you guys are getting together every once in a while. I really do believe that.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And it's another reason why I want to desperately move back to Los Angeles. The girl gaming crew in LA is strong.
Yeah.
But yes, we would love to have her on the show. I will send her an email literally tomorrow.
Yeah, she's in. I mean, I'll confirm for her, by the way. She's in 100%.
No, I already talked to her about it when we went out. I was like, so do you want to come on the show? And she's like, yes. I'm like, great. Yeah. I mean, I don't have scheduling down.
She's legit
but, like,
salty
she's
down here. And she's like, I appreciate what you're doing, Blair. It's for a good cause, but like, okay.
That's bullshit, man. Jessica, if you're listening, we're so sorry. Trust us. You were on the list.
Trust us. You're definitely the priority, but Blair reached out, so here he is.
Kids with cancer, Jessica.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's true. Can't argue that.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you guys are a pre-show patron, you can catch the archive where we're having a nice chat with Blair on patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. As we mentioned earlier this week, if you guys missed it on social media, we'll have a special episode next week that Steimer and I have pre-recorded, taking lots of backlog Dear WGG questions. All kinds of topics get covered in that show next week. So look for that next Friday. And then the three of us will be reunited the week after that when Brittany is back from her European cruise. And we will be doing our happy hour Q&A for all patrons on September 27th with more details to follow. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.